everyone, and welcome back to the Journey Out podcast. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little excited for today's episode.
I'm excited.
I'm just like crazy blown away excited. And so we have some amazing individuals here today, and I just cannot wait for them to just impart all of their wisdom on you guys. So please like, share, subscribe, join the family. We are seeing everybody who's subscribing to the channel, and we're like almost at 1,000 subscribers. So we are doing absolutely amazing, and we can't do it without you guys. So continue to share, like, and subscribe. Leave us some comments. Just go all out. We appreciate you guys. So before we just have some fun, let's just get into it, right? All right, let's hop in.
I know some people probably had it hard, but I was blessed. I ain't never saw my mom and dad stressed. They only show success. I'm living comfort from the sweat out they backs, and that's why all I ever wanted was to give it back. I'm not ashamed cause I was raised right. Nope. I would only be ashamed if I didn't help you fight through the pain, help you journey out the games that your mind played. No matter what, I'm never letting my shine fade away. Forever searching for knowledge, hoping I find grace. Keep your intentions pure, be sure about the risk you take. Pop said failure builds character. I came up short a time or two. Your mind know what your heart been through. Don't let that pressure startle you, and faith out in the Lord will do you justice. We sat and we discuss it. This assistance for the public. A little love will help recover from your struggle. If iron sharpens iron, and let's turn out together forever. J.O.P. It's Journey Out. Journey Out podcast. Welcome to the Journey Out podcast.
All right, so we have three gentlemen sitting right next to us. We have Mr. Cliff, we have Mr. Shawn, we have Mr. Alonzo. First and foremost, please go in depth. Tell us who you are, what you do.
Well, thank you for having us. My name is Cliff Montemayor, CEO, co-founder of Ride and Safe Non-Emergency Transportation. So we cover 24 counties throughout North and Central Texas. We do interstate, out of state, basically wherever people need to go.
Awesome. All right. Who do we have here next?
My name is Shawn Shannon, and I am a co-owner of Shannon Non-Emergency Transport. We basically serve Tarrant and Johnson County here in the Fort Worth area. We have 12 vans. My wife and my youngest son work with us, and yeah, we love the work.
Awesome. And not last but not least, but go ahead.
I'm Alonzo Burton, and I run Comfort Care Transportation, Non-Emergency Transportation, based in Kansas City, Missouri, in the metro areas, about 4 or 5 counties that we serve. And it's been in this business for about 2 years and a month, and looking to open up an office here in the North Dallas area. Awesome.
Okay, so one thing you all have in common is non-emergent transportation. All right, tell us a little bit about that. How did you get started? What was your journey in opening up Ride and Safe?
So my journey began as, by trade, I'm a paramedic and firefighter.
Okay.
So I've worked the box, I've owned and operated EMS systems, startups. And so a lot of that journey was taking care of people. So my last place where I started an EMS system is Granbury, Texas. And so large retirement community, you know, and when those folks get sick, a lot of times they don't want to go to the hospital because they're there, they moved to Granbury to retire. Their children are off, you know, their friends are of their age or older, and they always have that fear that they're not going to return home. They're going to be put in a nursing home or something else is going to happen. So I had one couple that moved to Granbury to retire, and they were doing great. Well, he became ill and she became his caretaker. So for a while we transported him. He ended up passing away, and then she was living alone, and then she became sick one night. And she was really sick, and so she did not want to go to the hospital, wouldn't go, and I told her, look, you are really sick and need to go. And I was a paramedic at the time working on the ambulance, and I said, look, I'm going to have to do some stuff, and when you get out of the hospital, I will bring you back home. So by that, she allowed me to take care of her. She ended up spending quite a few days in ICU on a ventilator, shipped to Fort Worth for higher level of care, and then once she got done, I did what I said I was going to do. I brought her back home. And she was able to continue to age in place. And that's been the biggest part of my journey coming out of EMS and fireside, going into the non-emergency side.
And that's what got you started. And I know all of y'all have similar stories. Why don't you share yours with me?
I had been in the freight business for 16 years, and Renee had always worked. I understood logistics and transportation, and Renee had always worked back and forth between childcare and home health. Just depending on where our boys were in their lives. And we had just gotten to a point in our lives where we were crashing again financially, just to be real blunt. Right. And I just couldn't stand to take her through it again. I have two friends that are paramedics, one in Bowie, one in Greenville, and the same week, both of them were saying, you should look into this business. We didn't have any money, and we'd been praying for probably a year. And not to say that we're not great people of faith. We were scared out of our gourds.
Right.
And one night I was asleep. I always get the goosebumps of this, but I'm telling you, like we're sitting here, I heard God's voice. It was a whisper, and it said, I'm about to begin something new. And, just like the prophet, he said, excuse me, Lord, what was that? And he said it again. So we went from that just to looking and researching. And when we discovered how many of the elderly were missing life-critical appointments because of no transportation or poor transportation, it really lit our fire. And so we started trying to figure out how to do this, and we bought our first van in November of 2019.
Wow.
And just went from there.
Awesome.
And you, sir?
Similar to these gentlemen, I had a tragic event that took place. My mother was involved in a head-on collision, and that person hit and ran, and it was right during COVID. And so she had to spend 3 weeks in the hospital. She broke her femur, bone in her hand, busted her eardrums from the airbags deploying, which saved her life. Had no idea that this industry even existed. But because of COVID, we weren't able to go see my mom for the first week she was in the hospital. And me and my two sisters had to take turns. You could go in, one person can visit a day, and you had to stay all day or unless nobody could go back. So we would take turns just visiting my mom. My mom worked really hard to get out of the hospital and had a lot of fear in regards to COVID. And now the doctors was going to place her in a rehab facility once she was ready to leave the hospital. Well, of course, at that point, we were like, we don't want mom to go to a rehab facility. So we had to do some augmentation of the home, remodeling the home, make some ramps, opening some doors for the wheelchair and do those things. And so it's like, okay, how she's going to get to rehab? And that started the journey. And first, I had to find a company that I didn't even know what to search on the internet. And so it's wild that I'm in this podcast right now because I know what it's like to not even know that this exists. And so when I did do that, I identified 4 companies, and the websites, I could tell that the websites weren't even looked at by the companies. But I called one. I actually called the cheapest and the closest. And sure enough, they pulled up, and my mom refused to go.
All right. So many people find their passion in what they do for life through experience.
Right.
I have a twofold question, and y'all can just jump in and ask whoever wants to. How did your experience and your passion shape you going into the non-emergency transportation business? And also, how do you see your growth?
For me, the experience was on the medical side, because we would always take people to a higher level of care, and that was always taking them from their home. And it was like when those folks went to higher level of care, how are they going to get back home? Because those transportation companies that were in the city never left the city limits. And so that's how we generated ours, is that we took care of everybody on the outside. So we did all the rural areas, everybody that was outside the city that, couldn't get back home.
Right.
And so that's where we came out of, being able to do that. And, you get to travel with these folks for 45 minutes to an hour and a half. And getting to listen to their stories. I mean, these were folks who were in Vietnam, survived the Depression. The stories they have are amazing. If we would just take a little bit of time to sit and just listen, the value of the information they have is amazing.
Right. And I want to kind of break this down too, because we don't have just three different NEMT companies sitting on the stage. There is a connection here. And so what I really want to break down, because you talked about the experience, and it's pretty much like a shared experience. Everybody either saw a gap, they were affected by it personally. So it's a shared experience, but also you, Cliff, have some connections to both of these gentlemen that are sitting next to you. Kind of tell me a little bit about how this relationship kind of just formed, expanded, and how it impacts the work that y'all do.
Well, Ride and Safe has been in existence for 18 years, so we've been doing this a little while. So there's lots of blood, sweat, and tears that's come out of this. I've learned a lot. I've had a lot of failures, learned how to get back up and make things better. Shawn, I actually met a few years ago, and it was one of those times that, he's a rival, he's a competitor, not gonna share my information. And because it took me so much to learn, how to do this and do it right. But I got to know Shawn. He actually reached out to me, and they're a faith-based company. They do everything well. They do the background checks. And then I started deciding, hey, why there is so much business out there. There are so many people that need transportation. Why couldn't we do this together? And so we created kind of what we call an NEMT care network. So providers that we brought together, that we make sure we hold each other accountable, that we have the same insurance levels, we're doing the same training, customer service, our call centers, from dispatching to our mechanics, making sure our vehicles are safe, the tires are inspected, the vehicles are inspected, our drivers clean their vehicles, and so then I went into, I hate to say coaching, but more mentoring, like bringing people on. People would tell me, you have this wealth of information, would you share it? And so I did with a lot of people, and nobody would ever move on it. And then I had somebody tell me, if they don't have skin in the game, they'll never move. And they were like, you need to charge for your knowledge. And so I went that way, and I was like, well, I don't want to make money off of it, but I do want to develop people and grow people. And that's where a lot of this came from. And then I met Alonzo and at NEMT conference, and he was like, would you mentor me? And I was like, yeah. And I had already done a couple other gentlemen, and they've started NEMT transportation companies from the ground up and have been successful at it. And so I've just grown from there. I love teaching, I love mentoring, I love watching people grow and have passion in this industry.
And I love what you said there in the beginning, accountability, right? That's what this is about. And so it's just us, right? When we're going into a situation, and especially when you have people who don't know about the industry at all, right? And they're calling, they're looking for answers. You could go the cheapest and the closest route, and then the guy or woman shows up, and you're like, what is this, right? Like, who is this person coming to pick up? I don't know this person that's taking my mom to the rehab. I don't know really anything about this company. I just know that they were the closest and they were the cheapest. But what you're talking about is actually a framework for integrity.
Absolutely.
You're talking about, hey, we know that the audience that we're serving is vulnerable. So let's make sure that we're holding each other accountable, and let's bring up other people to have this just amazing framework of transportation, which is amazing.
And another thing he said, there's no competition.
It's no competition.
Right? And
It's
you're
no
helping
competition.
others, right? And you have all this wealth of knowledge, and you said, hey, let me share, because I was the same way. Listen, I'm doing this, I don't want to talk to nobody.
Right.
Don't come over here, I'm going to
Yeah.
keep it to myself. But that's not us serving the greater good for the people that need that help.
At all.
So kudos up to you guys.
Yes. And so let's talk more about just the value and the importance of non-emergent medical transportation. So first and foremost, the easiest question, why is NEMT so important? Why is it needed? Anyone can take that question.
Well, I would say simply I forget the millions of dollars that it costs for just in missed appointments. The overall health of our passengers. One of the things I always tell the rehabs that we have contracts with is that they're your residents, they're our passengers, they're a resident of our vehicle, and we care about them just as much as you do. And them being able to have a comfort level to know that they're going to be treated, comfortably. They're going to handle with care. It's going to be timely. We're going to be communicated to well, and we're going to try to build relationships.
Right.
And so it's just the overall health of our aging community.
Right.
The overall health of them. And one of the things I ask my drivers is it good enough for your mother?
Right.
Is it good enough for her?
Love
The
that.
service that you're providing, would you want that to be for your mother?
Right.
And so, me knowing that when my mom did finally get that ride,
Yeah.
that she was going to be took there and safely make it to her appointment that was greatly needed. That other than that, I don't know how to get her there.
Right.
So it's very important, especially for people with loved ones. Most of the people we serve are their kids or family are calling, and a lot of times we are their family.
Right.
Right.
They don't even have
Advocating,
that. People.
yeah.
I had a passenger when I was driving tell me, "Hey, you're the only family I got. You're the only person that I talk to. And I enjoy these rides."
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So why choose non-emergency transport versus an ambulance or ride and share service?
Yeah. What's the difference between those?
I think you have continuity of, you hear the term of continuity of care.
Yeah.
You get the same thing with us. You get the continuity. We use the same drivers for the same folks, that are going to the dialysis appointments or they have set urology appointments, something like that. We try to use that same driver for their comfort. If they see that same face, there's a level of comfort there. And like Alonzo said, that's something that we preach to our team is, we're going to treat these people the way that we would treat your grandmother.
Right.
Because we advocate for them, because you're going to take them to a doctor's appointment. We're not going to just walk in and shove them off and walk out. We're going to make sure that appointment is good, that they're at the right place, because sometimes we don't get good information. So we want to make sure that they're taken care of and not just dropped off, and being able to have that same face, that same relationship, rolling with what Alonzo said, you learn so much about these people.
Yeah.
You know what kind of music they like. Everybody's got Pandora. So we can play Pandora on the radio for them. It's just kind of gives them a little bit of freedom.
So I want all three of y'all to ask this: what sets you guys apart from the industry? What made y'all companies the non-emergency transport to be with, to call?
I think for us, it's customer service. I mean, customer service in any industry today is almost just it's non-existent. And we could easily, farm out, to a foreign country and save money as a company. But our folks, they love calling and hearing that voice, somebody that they can connect to, that they can understand. And our team, I would put them up against anybody else. I mean, just like these guys, I mean, they get to know and love their passengers. We get to know and love on them, as well as our clients. I mean, we have large hospitals, corporations, rehabs, and families that trust us.
Right.
And, we show up with clean vehicles. Our vehicles are safe. They're routinely inspected.
Yeah.
Our drivers are all well uniformed and have, a good hygiene and have IDs on them.
Yeah.
They're not smoking in the vehicles. They're sharing whatever radio stations that they want to have on at the time. Because there's sometimes, a lot of us are rural, so we may be with them for an hour. And getting to know them, our drivers just love on them. And once we take them home, they're taking them, putting them in their recliner, making sure their phone's beside them, they have a drink of water, they have a sandwich. My drivers will tell me that all the time, that they've been there a little bit too long, because They made her a sandwich, or they made sure her phone
I
was
love
right there
that.
beside
I
her.
love that.
Absolutely.
I love that.
And, you know, I say nothing to them but kudos, because they enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
And we've gained their trust and their respect.
Right. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, absolutely, for us is customer service, and that's one of the things is, I think that, and then being family owned and family operated for us, that gives us a little bit more of a touch. You know, we're smaller, you know, so it's easier to do. You know, like I said earlier, my wife's the sweetest soul on the planet, and my son that works with me, I couldn't be more proud of him.
Yeah.
I mean, just sharp. And so when they call, they're going to get a Shannon on the phone, or if they get Kim, the lady that works with us, there's a Shannon sitting right next to her. You know, it's not just a cold phone call that they're getting.
Yeah.
They're getting something, oh yeah, Mrs. So-and-so, we know her, and are we going back to
Yeah.
the same place we went to last time? You know, it's just a little bit, and then being faith-based on top of that, when we get to do the hospice work, you know, that's a whole nother deal. It's really cool.
Yeah.
You take a guy home for the last time, you get to pray with him right there at the end.
Love that. I love that.
Yeah, I would say ditto to what they said with the customer service. But for me, I'm going to go back to my mother. You know, on that ride, she turned away four vehicles, and I did have to take her myself. And so at that point, when I finally decided, I always have to remember why I started. And what I started was because I didn't want to be like them. And I consider a lot of this whole industry needs to be lifted. And I want to just give a shout out to Cliff again, just for taking me on and mentoring me, because I think I have a true desire to provide that customer service, to be the transportation of choice over any other transportation. And so he provided me with the framework of how to even get that done, because there is a temptation, not for me so much, but there's a temptation when it comes to financially of not washing your vans, of not making your drivers wear the right. It's like, because everybody's looking for a cheaper ride and a cheaper thing, and a lot of times the people who book you are not the passenger.
Right.
And they don't even see your van. They don't even know what it is. So it's not incentivized to do that.
Yeah.
And so what separates Comfort Care, where we are, is that we are trying to provide a quality service, a timely service. You know, we have standards, and we let people know those standards. And so and a lot of times when it's unappreciated, that's not, I got to remember why I'm doing that.
And I think you guys hit on a lot of cool things there, because most time, again, they're not thinking about all the backhand stuff that you guys are thinking about. They're just thinking, I have to get mine from point A to point B. She can't even sit up all the way on her own to go to ride in my car. So they're not thinking about, well, is the car that she's going to get in clean, or is the driver certified for memory care, or just random different things that you guys put into it that you don't think about. And I think that is what sets you guys apart. That above and beyond, like, you don't have to, right? We'll talk a little bit about kind of mandates and things, but you don't have to. But those things do kind of, it enhances the ride for the passenger. And I love that you guys say that. But I also want to know, ideal situation, right? Because you have somebody listening to this episode, and they're like, okay, mom does need a ride to go to rehab or wherever that may be. What is the ideal scenario? Like, give me a scenario of, hey, this is when I should call Ride and Save, Shannon NEMT, Comfort Care. This is when you should call for our services.
So that's actually a great question, because we actually did this in the city that we're based in with the Cleburne Fire Department. So they were getting a lot of calls for non-emergency transportation. So you're taking that ambulance, you know, a critical asset for the city for emergencies, to go take somebody to dialysis or to the hospital for x-rays that is not urgent, you know, that can wait, you know, 2, 3, 4 hours. It's not something that has to be done right away.
Right.
So we did set that criteria with the fire department's help and did the training. And actually, I just found out a few weeks ago when I talked to the chief that we took 400 calls off of their manifest just last year.
Wow.
And so with the growth of their city, the way that the city's growing so rapidly, they added on another 400 calls. So just think, if they hadn't if we hadn't taken that burden off of the 911 system,
Right.
they wouldn't be able to serve
Right.
these other true emergencies that are happening.
Right.
So the same thing with our folks. You know, we may have folks that have fractured a hip or broke a leg
Right.
or something, and just utilize this for 6 to 8 weeks to get to and from their doctor's appointments, and then they don't use us again. So that's kind of what we do, is just serve those who can't at the moment.
Right. Awesome. I love that. And so I know you have spoken about rural areas. So let's talk a little bit about why is it a little harder in rural areas, and pretty much what are your plans or projects that you have to currently improve NEMT in those areas? Anyone can take
Yeah,
that.
I just
So
like-
anyone.
Okay.
The big thing for that is just that they're limited on the access to the options. You know, that's the big thing, and they'll be charged, like to come from Fort Worth out to Granbury or somewhere like that. They'll charge them miles out there, miles back to the doctor, then miles back to their home. You know, so they're getting hit quite a bit. That's something that we're real sensitive about. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
you can't go upside down, but we're going to give them a good break. You know, on
Yeah.
that, because we tell everybody, my wife and I, we're country people. You know, we are, and so we have a heart for that. We love the rural,
Yeah.
thing, and they get to stay at home.
Yeah.
You know, as if we get to help them stay at home that much longer, then we're doing what we need to do.
Right. Right.
I'm actually located in the heart of our city, and so I'm right dead in the middle. And so, but what I found is that there's a lot of demand for that, just because, like you said, there's not a lot of people providing that service for them. And so we do go out on the outskirts of the city. One of the things that we're doing in order to serve them better is set up little satellite offices. An idea I got from Cliff.
Yeah,
And so to set up the satellite offices where our drivers and we're stationed. Also, I have with our contractor facilities, I have the ability to park at their locations if my
Oh.
driver doesn't live there. And so
That is
and then I
awesome.
got little so we have little small refrigerators, maybe a couch somewhere the driver can take a break, and he uses that place as a station. And then even in that community now, people can call us to actually go out that way, and then we can leave the van out there. So what I'm also looking to do is hire drivers from those areas, and so and just strategically placing them. And what I found is, as soon as all I got to do is let them know that I'm there,
Right.
and then they make that call.
Yeah.
And so
I love that.
So y'all talked about your drivers, okay? What type of training goes into preparing a non-emergency transport driver?
Because if I'm there, this is not regulated, right?
So
Okay.
if you say specialists,
Yeah.
what training goes into preparing your specialists?
Well, we all pretty much have the same thing, but our drivers, we're very picky about who we choose, because this is a very special population that we do transport on a regular basis. So our background checks, and again, mine coming from the EMS and fire side, it's pretty stringent. And we follow the Medicare and Medicaid guidelines, even though we don't have to. So, you know, they have to have a clean driving record, they have to have a clean background, and we can do the training. So we actually do in-house training. When we bring somebody in, we onboard them. They have to have passed all those things. They have to have passed a drug test. And then they go through 2 weeks of in-person training. So they're actually with another driver, one of our trainers. So we have 3 trainers in-house, and so they ride along with them for 2 weeks. And they must complete 25 trips in that 2-week period.
Wow, okay.
But we also have our own simulator. So when they're in-house, our lead trainer is actually teaching them how to load and unload, how to properly secure, going through different scenarios that they might encounter.
Right.
You know, some people don't think that parking on an incline is going to be a problem. You know, so certain ways that you park, you know, we try not to ever put our vehicles to where we have to back up. You know,
Right.
always leave them to where you're headed out. All kinds of things, and we have, you know, people on dialysis. When we pick them up, take them back, they're pretty tired, they're pretty exhausted.
Right.
And so they become leaners, they fall asleep and they lean. So our chairs are equipped with shoulder harnesses and body cross belts that won't, if they do fall asleep, they're not going to lean.
Right.
And I think our three, we're the only ones in the industry that I've seen so far. We buy more expensive chairs. Ours will actually recline. So we can actually lay them back just a little bit. We can put their feet up, put them in a position of comfort, and just let them sleep on the way home if they want to.
Right.
So you told me what you do
That's
to
right.
train your specialists, your drivers, okay? What do you guys look for in a person that's going to be the driver? After the training, before you do the training, what are you looking
Yeah.
for?
Yep.
The main thing is a passion to help people,
Yeah.
a love for people and care for people. My drivers, I've been blessed because a lot of times when I first got started, I was watching, before I got with Cliff, I was watching YouTube videos and I was trying to put people in seats, but I've been blessed. God looked out for me because it's just my name. I think it's the name that attracted the right drivers, Comfort Care.
Yeah.
And because the drivers was a common thing I kept hearing from even all our customers, all our passengers, was that we provided the best, we had the kindest and the cleanest and the most courteous drivers.
Yeah.
And it's like they do, I would say that's what I look for though. When I'm talking to, I'm interviewing, or when anybody, my staff is interviewing, they want to get a driver that really cares about it.
Right.
There's
Have
a-
the passion.
We're looking for compassion,
Yeah.
so that's one of the things we get them talking about their family. Tell me about your grandmother. What are some of your fondest memories? If a guy can sit there and tell you about his grandmother's peanut butter cookies or her fried, like for me, her fried chicken.
Right,
And my
right.
mama used to make, she called it soul food. Fried potatoes and red beans, just like that was soul food. So you get a guy that, if he's got good memories and talk like that, that's somebody that I want to move forward with.
Right.
If they say, oh yeah, I didn't know him very much, we kind of move on. I want to hear the warm fuzzies because
Right.
you're going to come across people when you're taking them. There was a lady that was so precious to every one of our guys, and when the first time I picked her up, I'm like, I've got my mama. I mean, it was her mannerisms were the same. I mean, she would say the same thing, and she'd say, "How you doing, baby?" And I said, "Oh, we're busy. Tell God thank you." That's what.
So that was good. So you're looking for compassion.
Yeah.
You're looking for family, and you're looking for their heart.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So great.
And one thing that I did hear you guys say, you guys talked about like the safety aspects, so like how you have the crossbody harnesses and the short, all these different things. So it's a twofold question. Why should safety be the core value for upcoming NEMT companies, but also, again, I just want to harp on this because there is no regulations for it. So why do you all care to even go the extra mile if you don't have to go the extra
Especially
mile?
concerning
Safety.
Yeah. And we see it all the time. I mean, day in, day out. But again, my side of it, it's always, in my career path, it's always been about safety. Whether you're on the EMS side and you're on a wreck scene, it's about, is the scene safe? How do you go about keeping yourself safe first and then keeping the people that you're caring for? Also on the fire side, I mean, when you go into a burning building, it's all about safety and reading the scene and knowing how it's going to react and how you're going to react. So safety with our passengers, I mean, we see it all the time. Like people, I've seen ratchet straps to secure patients. I've seen where they're not even using seat belts. We've seen, vans on the side of the road with a passenger in the chair, in the floor.
In the floor with their wheelchair out there waiting for the EMS to get there to get them out of their floor.
Whoa.
And so, and it's there again, these people are our family,
Right.
and their families or themselves are entrusting us to take care of them.
Right.
And so if that's how I'm going to take care of my mother, my grandmother, that's how it's going to be done.
Right.
And, we all spend a lot of money in safety equipment, in our chairs, in training.
Tires.
Right.
Yeah.
Lord, we spend a lot of money on tires.
And an incentive is, man, what I didn't know when I started is the insurance cost.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this whole industry needs to be lifted
Yeah.
when it comes
Right.
to safety, because when those things happen, there's this that drives up that price, and then also it gives you a less ability to serve people,
Right.
just because they can't pay that cost.
Right.
And so if we can keep our costs down and provide that safety, I mean, more importantly, the safety of those individuals, and we
Right.
really care.
And at the end of the day, y'all, we're sowing seeds.
Right.
And if I'm mean to an elderly person,
Amen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
it's going to happen to us somewhere down
Right.
the line. I'm not going to treat my wife properly or my grandbabies properly.
Right.
We're sowing a seed with every breath we take.
I love
and
that.
we
Love thy
have
neighbor
to.
as thyself.
I love
Treat people how
that.
you want
I
to be
love
treated.
that. And so we're going to wrap up here. And so final question that I want to have ask you guys. What should families who are looking to get a ride set up for their loved one to go rehab, dialysis, whatever that looks like? One, should they expect in the ride? But what are some questions they should be asking these non-emergent medical transportation companies?
Well, we all get it a lot. And so the one reason I love that you're doing this is because a lot of people don't even know that we exist until it's too late. And then they're doing an internet search and we don't know what they're going to get.
Right.
So, the big thing for us is being properly insured. How are our drivers trained? When they call in, they're going to get a series of questions
Right.
to make sure that we are the right fit for
Right.
them. Because if we're not the right fit, we're not going to do the transportation. Shawn may do things different, and he does have things different. He's got a different weight limit. We'll refer to them,
Right,
to
right.
do the transport. And I know he does the same thing back for us. But again, it's all going back to that safety. When they call, they're going to get an actual person.
Right.
They're not going to get a recording, and they're free to ask all kinds of questions. And our ladies in the call center will answer all of those questions for them. And if they can't, they'll reach out to me, and then I'll take the phone call.
Awesome.
We tell them to also to get referrals.
Yeah.
I'm happy to say, I'll give you a couple of our customers. You call them, see how we're doing over there.
Right.
I just, that's so important. And the hard thing is, the reality of it is, it's expensive. And if they're saying, well, the cost is the first and foremost, there's people out there cheaper than us.
Right. And so it is private pay at this time. Okay. Private pay at this time.
One of the things that I'm teaching my call takers and dispatchers to do is manage the expectations, because people don't know the questions to ask. So we actually tell them things to look for because they usually call and ask for the price, and that I'll call you back. Well, I'm going to tell you, not to you speak down on any other company or anything, but I'm going to tell you, just like you asked, what separates us and the reason why we might not be the cheapest. I'm like, we don't cost the most,
Right.
and we're not the cheapest, but we are the cleanest. We are the most courteous, and we take the measures to provide a safe ride and make your loved one comfortable.
Right.
And we let them know that. And so even when it comes to our communication, how we communicate, make
Right.
sure what we're going to do, we're walking them in and checking them in, and we're not going to leave them in some place where
Right.
they're not ready, or we make sure that we're going to communicate. We'll even communicate to you that we actually dropped them off safely.
Right.
And so a lot of that is letting them know that, because a lot of times they're like, well, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I was like, well, is this a will call? A will call, okay, well, from the time that you call us, we're probably 20 minutes away. And that's our aim. And so, but what we will do is communicate with you in ETA.
Right.
And so, but if you want to, then we offer them the option. So of us staying with them, we offer them the option of not making it a will call and saying, okay, you're gonna know when you're gonna be ready.
Yeah.
Then if you make that, then we'll treat that as an appointment.
Right.
And so,
Right. I
and then
love
so
that. Okay.
now they start working with they start asking questions of how long is this appointment going to take?
Right.
And what door we're going to pick off, what suite we're going to.
Yeah,
And
I
so
love
a lot
that.
of things we don't have that information if we just take the order and then we just show up at a building like this and be like,
Yeah,
where are we
right.
taking this person?
Right.
Another thing, they really need to be there for the first 1 or 2 or 3 times. When your family member is going to ride, especially if it's coming from your home, walk out there and look at that vehicle.
Yeah.
See what the tires look like. Do all 4 tires match? Are they just something that they got from I'm serious, man. I mean,
Yeah.
But the
that's
little
why-
things
Matter.
when
Especially when
Cliff
you
and I,
transfer.
when we first started talking, when we started, we knew just this much. And I would see one of his vans, they'd go into the hospital, they'd leave the doors open and the hatch up. I know they saw me on the dash cam. I'm looking in there, I'm saying, what's he using to clean with? Because COVID had exploded. You know, I was want to see what's he cleaning with? What kind of wheelchair is he using? Is it like mine? And I looked at all his tires. You know, I'd walk around and look at his tires on his vans. You know, I'm like, this guy's doing it right. We would see some of the others who will remain nameless. And man, you see where the outside edge is just smooth. I'm like, that's a junker.
My very first trip, I was my only driver. My very first trip, first facility I rolled up to, there was a van, like he said, it's open, they got all the doors open. I promise you, I saw a blood stain on the carpet, and it was old. And I looked in there, I was like, people are getting in that? And I was like, oh
Stink.
man.
And it matters. It matters.
Matters.
Everything you guys have talked about today matters. And I am just so honored to have had you gentlemen on the podcast today, because I just know that this is going to bless so many others, and also kind of shed light on the industry as a whole, because not only is this about, you know, the passengers and who you're transporting, but it's also about bringing up the next people who are going to start NEMT companies, and how to do it right, and how to do it with efficiency, but also integrity. And so I appreciate you guys. I thank you guys for coming on and just giving us all this knowledge. It's just amazing.
I thank y'all for y'all passion to serve
Yes.
others, right? And
Really.
taking those little details and making it worth that patience ride.
Yeah.
And y'all non-emergency
So,
transportation.
listen, God bless you guys. Thank y'all. And I hope this was just as informative and just like awesome as it was for me. Like, I just love sitting here being able to answer and ask all of these amazing questions that they had. So you guys, if you don't know about Riding Safe, Shannon NEMT and Comfort Care, please, please, please just click the links in the bio. We're going to have everything set out for them. Please just go ahead and ask those questions. Get the next appointment set up, because you're going to be in really great hands. And if you have any more questions for them, that's when you want to reach out to these gentlemen and just ask all the questions that you can. And if you are a guy or lady who wants to open up their own company, hey, you got the mentors right here. So please feel free to reach out to them. I hope you guys had a blast today. This was an awesome episode, and we will catch you on the next one. Peace out.
Peace.